Hi guys, and welcome back to my Coco Chanel. So I know the last couple of videos on my channels have been a bit of a mess around and I love having a good crack and a piss around people, but today I want to speak about a more serious topic that I've had a lot of questions on Instagram about. And if you're not following my Instagram page, it's here and I will leave it in the description box below. Now, just for those who aren't too sure about what the thyroid gland is or does, it's a kind of little butterfly shaped gland or object that is in, it's not an object, am I saying that? Well, it's a butterfly shape anyway that sits in the neck and controls a lot of the human balances, and too much of either way of those release hormones can have a detrimental effect on the body. Now ladies, the reason why I am addressing you here more so than the gents is because you are more likely to suffer from thyroid issues or disease. So the majority of you here that are struggling with weight loss journey or being overweight or being obese will be because of too many calories. Pretty much just putting too many Jaffa cakes from here to here. Now, to dive into the bulk of it, there's two different types of thyroid disease, and one of them is called Graves and one of them is called Hashimoto. Now this is a little bit different to being overweight. A lot of people have Graves underweight, and it's pretty much where the immune system attacks the thyroid to kind of trick it into making too much. Some of the main symptoms that you may want to look out for if you're underweight and struggling to put weight on are such things as anxiety, fatigue, you feel weak, run down all the time, you've got no energy. Another thing to look out for is that you may have bulging eyes, or they might be like all red, so you're just really tired. The reason for this is because the antibodies actually attack the back of the eyeballs and the fat and the muscle tissue there, so that's why you get that really sore feeling in the back of your eyes sometimes. Now the other type of thyroid disease, which is sometimes more common, is called Hashimoto, and this is the one where the thyroid is underactive, so it's where you maybe struggle to lose weight or cut down weight when you are on a diet or committed to your exercise. And what happens to this is it actually attacks the thyroid gland and destroys it, so you may feel things like a lot of fatigue, you have fluctuations in weight, you may hold a lot of water retention, you are very fatigued, which obviously means you're going to be moving less, so expending less again when you are going to do exercise. And the other thing is, it may also, you know, it's a common pattern in terms of you picking up colds monthly or very, very frequently. Now, if you feel like you are on a weight loss journey, you're putting everything into it, your diet and you're tracking calories, but you're still not doing anything, and you are feeling any of these symptoms like you're really run down, it's probably an idea to go and see a doctor about it. Kind of just firing me questions on Instagram about it, or me telling you information about it, isn't actually going to do anything to help. Then what a doctor will do pretty much is he'll be able to run these tests and then distinguish if you are in a normal or abnormal range. Now the good thing is, now we've moved on to the modern era, is that the tests will actually show you and will pick up Graves, which it didn't used to, and it'll also tell you whether it's stimulating or blocking the thyroid. Now what this will actually do is it'll help the doctor better determine how active the immune system is against the thyroid and predict it and be able to diagnose it a lot better. Now I'll give you some spiel on what you can do in terms of a medical standpoint. There's also a lot of other things that you can do for yourself in order to combat your thyroid issues or help with your weight loss, and that's where I'm going to come in. So there's two things you can do, is look at your diet and look at your exercise. Now I want to look at diet first because for me that's the most important. Now I think that the big thing is that people who have underactive thyroids do is they drop calories down and down and down and down because they think that's the best way they're going to be able to combat it and lose weight. Now the big thing you need to remember here is that a low calorie diet or deficit, even up to a week, can affect thermogenesis long term, which is going to overall affect how efficiently you will be able to lose weight, which isn't necessarily a good thing really. Of course this will be due to how long you stay in that deficit for and how long you continue to under eat for, which no one wants to really do. Now one thing you do need to do if you're going to sit down from this video and plan a new diet plan is think about where your last set of calories are, so where you're currently at with your calories at the moment before you move into a new one, because that's going to have a detrimental effect. Like if you're moving from a deficit into maintenance or surplus, that big switch in calories when you have an underactive thyroid or a low metabolic rate is going to have a negative effect in what you really want to achieve. And the same goes for if you're in a big surplus then going into extreme deficit. You need to kind of capture that bridge in between the two. And this is exactly the same with carbohydrates. People seem to be scared of carbohydrates, but again, for you to be able to stimulate your thyroid and your metabolic rate, there needs to be a carbohydrate intake in there. Now if you're one of those people who already has carbs in diet or is on high carbs, one thing or one strategy to help your thyroid may be to fluctuate the carbohydrate intake, so sometimes known as carb cycling, but do it in more strategic periods where you may do 1 week high, 1 week low, certain days high or low. This is going to positively impact your insulin sensitivity, which is a good thing when it comes to burning body fat and making sure that you are using your calories sufficiently that you're giving into your body, especially when you've got an underactive thyroid. And this is a big thing, especially with people who have underactive thyroids, and know it's difficult. I've spoken to people who've struggled with it before with binge eating, because if you're putting a high demand on the body to have a massive intake of food, say you've sat down, you've mashed everything in, you've been in the cupboards, Jammy Dodgers are out, Ben and Jerry's are out, whatever it is, but you're in a deficit, you're telling the body we don't really need that much energy to function, but then you're loading it with loads and it doesn't really know what to do with it. So especially if you're someone with an underactive thyroid, it's going to have a massive detrimental effect on the body, so you need to start getting a more balance with your diet. Next topic, exercise. And this is going to have importance to you, but not as much as diet. I'm not going to ramble as much on this one. I'm also going to show you one of the workouts I put together for fat loss, especially if you have an underactive thyroid and you're a little bit tired and run down at the end of each day. Here, less is going to be more. Now, it's been shown in studies that aerobic exercise is really good if you've got an underactive thyroid, but not too much or not too long, just because you are due to fatigue more than others maybe. So that's why HIIT and HIIT exercise is great for those, because you only need to do 15 minutes of it. It's not too long, and it's also going to be great for your metabolic rate as well. Secondly, weight training is also going to need to be included within your regime if you've got an underactive thyroid. It's going to be really good for helping metabolic changes, but also if you're feeling rather weak and you are getting some wasted, just keeping a bit of strength throughout the full body is really going to help in your combat against an underactive thyroid. Now, there is a lot that can be said for exercise when you've got an underactive thyroid, and I know this from working with other people, because I know on a day-to-day basis it can make you feel worthless and run down like you can't be arsed. So before you go down the route of extreme things like hysterectomy, birth control pills, or other types of medication for your underactive thyroid, it may be an idea just to try and tighten up your diet, or tighten up your training, or do something different that hasn't worked for you before, because this could make a much bigger difference from going back and forth to the doctors and waiting in NHS waiting lists to being seen by a GP and taking action from it. Now, I'm a big believer in the power of exercise, of course I am, the whole channel's fitness, but weightlifting can help you see that you're a much stronger person than you keep telling yourself, and it can really give you a kick up the arse with your journey and what you want to achieve. Now, I'm also going to leave in the description box below a link to a study by Eskandar Rahimi, which was an 8-week resistance training course on a group of men who had underactive thyroid, and the impact and the positive impacts that had on their thyroid long term. Now guys, I'm going to love you and leave you with one of my fat burning workouts that I put together specifically if you struggle with underactive thyroid, which is a combination of HIIT training principles with some resistance training. Should only take you about 15 to 20 minutes, and you can pretty much do it anywhere. So what's the workout next? Take a note of it. If this was helpful, please give it a massive thumbs up, and if this is your first time watching my channel, please subscribe. Catch you next time, guys.
Has no patience, look at his face and in his eyes. He's been waiting, he's been way bound to the die. Always taking chances, all those conversations. Don't know if I'll make it, don't know why he even tries. Say, oh, I am a believer. Oh, don't know how I'll be if I'm not free to take a lead. Oh, I am a believer. Oh, ground beneath my feet, but I don't flee cause I believe. I'll stay down to the ground. Stay down to the ground. Stay down to the ground, 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 ground. Stay down to the dancing,